I think the important thing is to notice the first reaction you have. Because, like I said, it might be like, oh, I could do that. And then all of the fears and the doubts come in, and you're like, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah.
No, never mind. We're just going to stay here. So it's that initial reaction when you hear that, like, oh, I could do it this way. And you feel that little lean forward. I think those are the things to follow. And it's really fun when you start doing that. I do that 95% of the time now, and it does make things feel easy.
I'm Tiffany Gilliland, your host of the Business Bravery Podcast. I'm an Australian business and mindset coach and marketing service provider with 13 years of experience in online marketing. I help coaches sign clients and grow their business with more confidence and less stress using my Business Bravery framework. It's all about simple steps that actually work so you can build a profitable business that lights you up and feels sustainable. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to join me for Brave Coffee Connections, my free monthly Zoom gathering for coaches and service-based business owners. It's not another networking pitch fest. Instead, you'll connect through powerful questions, small group conversations, and a short visualization to set you up for the month ahead. These deeper connections often lead to collaborations, referrals, and even new clients. Find out more about this free monthly Zoom gathering at tiffanygstudios.com/connections. That's tiffanygstudios.com/connections. I'd love to see you there. In this episode, I had the pleasure of chatting with Kerryn, who is a writer, editor, and writing coach who is passionate about supporting women's stories and sharing women's wisdom. She lives her life and operates her business from her intuition, aligned with her menstrual cycle, the moon, and the seasons. She finds guidance in human design, astrology, oracle cards, and meditation. She lives in New Zealand, where she is a stay-at-home mum to her 9-year-old daughter and 6-year-old son, with her husband of more than 20 years and their black cat. In this episode, Kerryn shares how storytelling and book writing can help coaches and online business owners grow a profitable coaching business while staying authentic. We also explore how working with your natural energy cycles can create more balance, creativity, and ease in business growth. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Kerryn's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I am super excited to dive into bravery with my guest this week, the amazing Kerryn Trisha. I'm super excited. Kerryn, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories of bravery and all of the good stuff you have going on in your business. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and who you help and all of that goodness.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, first of all. I help creative women. And if you don't feel like you're a creative woman, then we are all creative. But I really focus on writing, and I am a book editor, I am a writing coach. But a lot of what I talk about and a lot of my advice doesn't just apply to writing, long form books. It can apply to any kind of writing. And I'm really passionate about women's stories and women sharing their stories, because we've been silenced for far too long. And I'm sure anyone who's been sort of had a conversation with a woman where they've sort of opened up a bit more and shared a bit more, we really get connected that way. And there's a real sense of we're not in this alone, and what we're going through is normal in the way we see the world. It's different to what we hear a lot of people share. So I'm really passionate about that. So whether that's writing in your journal or deciding to write your memoir or whatever, doesn't matter what form it takes. I'm really about encouraging women to write and share their stories. And then the other part of my business is all about learning how to work with our energies and our cyclical nature as women, living in this sort of toxic, productive, like we have to show up and do the same thing every day kind of world. That does not fit with how our energy flows. It doesn't fit with the natural cycle of the world either. It's a very, I think, man-made imposed construct from the industrial era and all of that kind of thing. So I really like to teach about winter, spring, summer, autumn, and how flowing through that cycle in absolutely every part of our lives can really help us feel like there's nothing wrong with us, feel like the way we want to approach the world and move through the world is natural and normal, because it really is. We just haven't often seen an example of or heard a different perspective for us to be able to make that okay for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting that you say like that different perspective that can make it okay for ourselves. Sort of what's an example of that different perspective?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times we hear and we're told like we need to show up and do the same thing every day. Like consistency is what builds like trust with people and safety and security, and it's something that means like people know what to expect from you. And so often, I think as women, we try to do that a lot, but depending on where we might be at in our menstrual cycle or just in our life or where our energy's at, we do have an ebb and flow of energy. And so we might realize that we don't want to do that and that doesn't work for us, but we don't know what how it might look to do it differently. It's like we know we don't want this, but we have never seen an example of something different. And so for me, that difference is really looking to the seasons in that cycle where we go through a period of like hibernation and winter and inward time. And then we have this flow of outward energy through spring where we like go out in the world and maybe take actions and play and try new things. And then summertime, where again we kind of pause and reflect and sort of settle into what have we created now and how does this feel. And then in autumn, when we've kind of decided, okay, this doesn't feel good anymore, we're going to get rid of that, or we're kind of going to wrap this other thing up, and we have this descent down again, preparing for another time of rest, another time for sort of hibernation or pause. And our productive world doesn't like the pause. So
Mm.
often we really celebrate, and the world values that springtime and summertime energy, even the autumn with the harvest and showing everyone I've been successful. But then I'm sure a lot of us who've done any big thing in our lives, even traditional things like if you get married or if you throw a big party or if you are finishing up a job or moving cities or countries, after you've done the big thing, it's kind of this like empty void of like, oh God, what now? And it's because that's the rest time. But we're not taught how to navigate that. We're taught to just rush forward, like we should have the next thing already lined up to run straight into. And I think we all have this kind of inner sense that like that doesn't feel right, but we don't know why. And we don't necessarily know how to navigate it any differently. So that's what I really love to talk about and love to kind of educate and share with people so they can see there is this alternative perspective, this alternative rhythm that you can look to for guidance in how to navigate those things in our lives.
I'm so excited to talk about these topics with you. Like just on a personal note, like the idea of seasons and when we first talked about it and like when you brought it up and I was like, oh, I'm kind of doing that in my business a bit more, following my menstrual cycle now that it's a bit more regular. I think. Anyways,
Yes, that's a thing for a lot of women, absolutely.
yeah. At one point, I tried to plan my launches around my menstrual cycle, and then my menstrual cycle would move, and it was just like it could be anywhere within a 3-week period. It was just like, okay, great. You'll just come forward and mess up my launch. And I planned around you. Anyway.
Yes, that is such a good point because I feel like when we first start wanting to work with like our menstrual cycle and work with our rhythms, we almost take again that more masculine approach to it to say, okay, it's going to be here, so I'm going to make this launch start like on this date, but
Yeah.
then our cycle doesn't really match the calendar and it is a bit more fluid. So then when we start to get those conflicts of, well, I said it was going to be here because this is when I expected you and now you're not,
Mm.
especially if you want to line your launch or doing something new with that springtime energy after you've finished your period. Like
Yeah.
if your period's a little later that month, like you're going to be bleeding at the same time you've told people you're launching. And it's like how do we work with our cycle but not in sort of the way we've been taught in a way previously. We're not necessarily going to schedule things in that same way, or because I've actually just had like a soft launch that
Mm.
has aligned up with my cycle, but I've done this before where I'm like, I'm going to do it here and then it doesn't work out. And I think the real key to that is knowing the value that we can bring in each of our phases. So even if we are on our periods and we are bleeding, we are slower. We don't necessarily want to we don't want to necessarily show our face or do it in a really bubbly way. Like, I'm a very optimistic, bubbly, bouncy personality a lot of the time. And I got really well known for that in college and in school when I was a teenager. And so, when it gets to the week where I'm on my period, you are not going to see that girl. Like, she does not exist. But there's a lot of deep wisdom, and we're so tuned into our intuition and just connected to the world at that time, that if we know that and we can value that, we can still show up and launch. Just it has a different flavor to it. It has a different energy to it. But that doesn't mean it's any less impactful. But we need to make sure that we're not getting too attached to how we want it to look, because that's when it can really hijack us. And we can be like, well, now I don't even want to launch this week because I'm bleeding and I don't know how to deal with this conflict, rather than coming back to honoring, and maybe delaying it is the right decision and making that okay. But knowing how to navigate that when it doesn't necessarily flow with what we planned or with our ideal picture on how working with our cycle might look.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Okay, there's so much more I want to talk to you about on that, but I want to make sure we get in the bravery stuff.
Yes.
I don't get sidetracked. So tell me about what brave things that you have going on at the moment. And is that the soft launch that you just mentioned? Or is there other brave things that you have going on at the moment?
Yeah, it absolutely is. So I have sort of come back into my business this year after taking a bit of time off. So I did a lot of work around my book editing, and then last year we just had a lot of sickness through winter, and my clients kind of wrapped up at nice opportunistic times. So I sort of took a lot of the last 6 months off, and coming back in, I sort of had this plan of like, steady but surely, like, I'm going to really commit, show up, work my 5 days a week in amongst my kids' schedule, and just let things unfold and not necessarily take my time. But I sort of built up this vision that was kind of like my winter time, if we want to just keep bringing in the seasonal view on it as well. That was really a winter time. And so I've come out, and I'm sort of doing my writing every day, and I'm sharing on my podcast, and I was just starting to get out there and reconnecting with the people who I had been working with last year and who'd been enjoying some of the different writing classes that I had been hosting. And a lot of the seasonal chat was coming up, and I was like, I did put on my vision board that I wanted to have like 100 people in my seasons membership. And it wasn't even a really solid idea yet. It was just, I know I love to talk about this stuff. And so I'm writing my book about it, and I don't want to wait till the book's done to start a conversation and start inviting people in. So I kind of always knew that at some point during writing the book, I would love to open a space up to have these conversations with people. And then a couple of weeks ago, my brain just went, you could do that now. And I was like, excuse me, what now? Like, this was not on my plan. Like, this wasn't on the like short-term horizon of what I thought would come. But it just was this little intuitive nudge where it's like, well, you could open that now and, invite these there's about 5 people who are sort of in my close circle. And, I was like, invite them in, and we can just hang out and we can chat, and you can have a place to share this great information. Because I just kept getting this feedback, like from you when I shared a little bit, and from a couple other people when I just shared snippets. They were like, this is so interesting, this is so useful. And I'm like, okay, I need to be sharing it. So it was definitely a moment where it kind of took me by surprise, and I got excited, because I've been in online business, starting up new things and launching stuff and doing this for close on 10 years now. So like, this part of the process is familiar. So that wasn't the scary bit. It was more sort of doing it now, when it wasn't in my head to be something that I was doing now. And I ended up going, live on Instagram the week I was on my period. And I was like, who am I to be able to keep showing up in this way? Like, I really had tried and couldn't really do that in past years. So I was really acknowledging, like, I don't know, the growth and the alignment and just all the nudges were like, yep, keep going. You're doing the right thing. Keep going. So yeah, I've opened up just this week as we're recording this, the Seasons membership, which is a Telegram group. And most days of the week when I'm writing, I go in and share like a 10 or 15-minute voice note about like the topic I've been writing about that day. And we have a read tent space for talking about our menstrual cycles and just sharing like what day we're on and how we're feeling, and just being witnessed a lot of the time, not necessarily like asking for help or support, but just having somewhere to share our experience is so like healing for women, for me, and for a lot of people I've been in circle like that with. So those are the main two spaces in the group, and we do just have a general chat as well, because the seasonal energies and rhythms literally touch on every part of our lives. And I'm very open. I'm like, there's no such thing as TMI, like any topic you want to bring in and like have this view on, or just have a space to share. Yeah, I really want to see a lot of those spaces being created more and more for women. So yeah, that's been the most recent, like, oh, I didn't think I'd be doing that right now, out of my comfort zone kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really proud of myself for just rolling with it and trusting it, and not spiraling, not freaking out. Like there's a little bit of bubbly anxiety even now talking about it, because it's so sort of new. I think, yeah, I'm good with setting it up and going forward. I think another thing I was thinking about for us recording today is the scarier thing for me is almost after I've established it. Like I'm an Aries sun, Aries rising. Like I'm good with the starting things. I'm good at getting excited about the beginning, but getting to the point where, inviting more people in and getting more visible, I think that's going to be a phase that I'm coming to, which is something a lot more new, that I think there'll be a lot more like fears and limiting beliefs and things coming up for me to work through.
Let me take a quick break from today's episode to invite you to something special I've created for you. It's called Brave Coffee Connections. This is a free monthly Zoom gathering for coaches and service-based business owners. It's not another awkward networking event. Instead, it's about creating genuine connections that can lead to collaborations, referrals, and even new clients. Here's how it works. We start with a powerful question to spark brave moves in your business. You'll reflect for a few minutes, then connect with like-minded coaches and service providers in a breakout room to share and be inspired. We do 2 rounds so you meet different people and get fresh perspectives. Then we end with a short visualization to wire your brain for success, and each of us commits to one brave action for the month ahead. Every month we focus on a different theme like bravery, money, or visibility, and it's all about connecting on a deeper level without the pressure or the pitch. You can grab your free spot at tiffanyGstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANY G for golf, studios.com/connections. I look forward to seeing you there. Oh, okay, there's so many questions I want to ask. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit to where you had the idea, like, because you're working on a book and then you had like a book about the seasons stuff, and then you had this idea. Like for me, I'm similar to you. I think quick start, ideas, manifesting generator, that kind of thing. But sometimes like I've had to learn from experience of like, hang on, like I've got this big thing, it needs my focus. Yes, that's exciting, but then sometimes like I'll pull back, and I like,
Yes.
how do you know when it's the right time to follow the nudges from your perspective? Like I have some guides for myself, obviously, but like how did you know to listen to that? And yeah, you get the point of the question.
Absolutely. No, I just going back, touching on the book part as well, like I think that was the really big thing that needed to shift, as far as like how I prioritized and structured like my business and what I was doing. Because previously, the work and getting clients and wanting the money and the income, like that was always such a priority. So my work, like writing 1,000 words every day, would always come after that. And so I think I needed to step away from how I was operating so that I could come back to it and say, okay, like the book and writing that subject matter as well is really the keystone, the foundation of everything else I do. And if I come back and keep focusing on that all the time, then everything else naturally is kind of fueled and inspired from that place. So the topics I share about on my podcast is a lot of like my experience in writing the book. And in the seasons membership, it's like what I wrote that day is going to go into there. And so I felt like I really needed to restructure that and shift that perspective. And it sounds really conscious and strategic, and that's not how it played out at all. And I think that's the thing with following our intuition, especially if we've been in business for a little while or we're learning a lot about the strategy of it. I find if we follow our intuition, the strategy will be there. Like once we get through stuff and look back, we can analyze it and say, oh, look, here was the strategy I followed. But that wasn't the experience that we took. We didn't at the beginning go, right, here I'm going to do the strategy. I'm showing up and I'm saying, right, what do I know to do? And this is an Amanda Frances thing. I love her. She's a money and manifestation mentor, but she just talks about like the concept of inspired action, which for the longest time, and for me and for a lot of people, it's one of those catchphrases, and you're like, what on earth does that mean? Like, what is inspired action compared to just doing an action? Like, this doesn't make sense. And she really talks about it as like taking the actions you know to do. So for me, with like launching the seasons membership, I was like, okay, what do I know to do, and what do I feel kind of drawn towards? So that's where, for me, often the actions really do come up in the moment, and I have to not analyze them. I have to just go, oh, I feel like sharing on Instagram. I feel like doing an Instagram live to share this. Like there's something coming up in me to say. And so then I'm like, all right, we're going to like, push through any barriers of like, I think the couple I did, I was sitting in my basement. It's not pretty, like it's not a pretty setting, right? And I'm like, but this is where I have to do it today. So I'm just going to press record and I'm going to go. Or yesterday when I recorded in the membership, and I just had the idea to like record my screen and like clip a little bit of what I'd done and then share that on Instagram to kind of give people a little bit of an insight into the membership and what I share in there. And again, like that wasn't the plan. Like my original idea was maybe I do a live stream once a week and then they get like a whole one day example instead of the more often ones. But then it's really not being so attached to your idea of how it's going to work so that you can listen to those nudges and feel, oh, I could do that thing. It's not a loud voice. It doesn't come with a plan or like a example of like why it's going to work for you. It's just that quieter voice that kind of pulls you, and you get this little like, I don't know, this openness, this little brightness, this like excitement of, oh, I could do that. And it just feels a lot clearer. It's like that. I talk a lot about the path of ease and flow. And it's one of those things where it does just feel easy. It just feels like, oh yeah, I'll do it like that. And I think sometimes like executing on the action, it might be something technical you've not done before. It might be something tricky. So it's just coming back to, no, this is a good idea. Like this came from a really clear place, which is that place of intuition. It is that place of like that inspired action. But a lot of the times we get in our own way around it, because once we have the idea, then all the fears come up, or we start to analyze and say, well, that wasn't the plan. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, to come back to sort of how it feels and sort of how I know, but also how other people can try and start tapping into that. I feel like a really great way I've heard it described is that difference between like feeling your body open and lean forward compared to closing and leaning back. Yes. And I think the important thing is to notice the first reaction you have. Because like I said, it might be like, oh, I could do that. And then all of the fears and the doubts come in and you're like, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah.
No, never mind. We're just going to stay here. So it's that initial reaction when you hear that, like, oh, I could do it this way. and you feel that little lean forward, I think those are the things to follow. And it's really fun when you start doing that. Like, I mean, I do that 95% of the time now, and it does make things feel easy. Like the work flows, you move through things. But I've had to decondition a lot to be able to follow that so consistently.
Yeah. Sorry, what do you mean by decondition, or what's an example? Or
Yeah, so it's really about, how I guess it's kind of like, we can go a computer program analogy. Basically, this idea of like, okay, this is how I operate and how I've been taught to operate. And I realize that that actually doesn't help me. So with the intuition, it's that idea of, oh, I want to do it this way, but that's not in the plan. That's not what I was going to do today. I was going to do a different thing. And I'm looking at my little task list for the week. And this is a really specific example, but I think it's a really good one. Like often a lot of us, we plan out our week and we say, right, today I want to achieve like XYZ. Like here's 3 top things that I want to do. And we can get into a really sticky place where like we might do the first thing and then our intuition's kind of calling us to do something else. So we've got into this, we've got inspired, we've got sort of connected into it. And so our intuition's like, oh, do this 4th task you weren't going to do until tomorrow, but do this one now. And we can look at our list and go, well, no, I need to leave that till tomorrow. I want to do these other things today. But often there's no really good reason. It was just that this was the idea I had in my head. And so that's an example of changing how we plan our days, for example, so that we don't create those expectations in the first place. So for me, and I've gone through a lot of variations of like what my page in my notebook looks like, but like how I've been operating this year is like I have at the top the like main things that I know that I need to keep in mind. Those are the priorities. Like I want to write, I want to get my podcast episode out, I want to be focused on the seasons membership. They're like not specific tasks. They're more like, remember, you want to be focused on these things. Nice. And then I do what some people might know as a ta-da list. So I write Monday at the top, and then once I do a thing, I tick it and write what I did. So it's kind of after the fact. So that allows me to have like, I've got my direction, I have my focus, and I do have a bit of a rhythm in my day where I know if I start with my writing, my intuition's going to then like nudge me towards the next thing. But the order in which I do things in the week, I don't really know what that is before the week starts. I don't have an expectation or a plan for that. I know I want to get my podcast episode out. I know I want to write. I know I have these other projects I want to work on, but how all that work gets done and in what order, and am I sitting in my dining room at my dining room table, or am I on the couch, or am I outside? Like all of that kind of stuff really, comes on the day. And I give my intuition now that space to be able to flow from one thing to the next.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for explaining that. That's so powerful. Just like, especially for me, I had one of those days yesterday. Like I plan out my week, like time blocks and things like that. And yesterday, I think like at lunchtime, there was this call I did, which is like the activate your flow state thing, which I thought was going to be this chill meditation. And instead it was like everybody stand up and it's a dance party. And I'm like, holy crap, what is this? And then like I had planned, like I was supposed to write content and everything, but instead it just activated all of this stuff, and problems I was having with certain offers that I want to put out and things, those were getting solved.
Amazing.
And so then I'd already posted on my stories, here's what I'm doing. I'm not procrastinating. I'm going to get this stuff done. And then I had to post, so I didn't get that stuff done. I don't feel bad about it. And here's why, kind of thing.
Yes, and that's another thing that can make it harder for us to like say yes to our intuition, especially if we've sort of publicly said like, this is my plan for the day. And none of this is wrong. Like I feel like there's this huge spectrum of like how much structure works for each of us, and also works for each of us depending on, how far through this journey we are in connecting and leading with our intuition, or what part of our cycle we're in. Like sometimes if I'm really not feeling like doing stuff, I need that, like, just do these two things and then you can like stop. Sometimes we need more structure than other times. So yeah, I don't think there's one right way to do it, but I love for everyone to be aware of that spectrum. And like you're saying, make it okay to say this was absolutely 100% my intention at the beginning of the day. Like this was in full alignment. This is what, as far as I knew, what was happening. And the fact that halfway through it, the day I had a different experience and something unexpected came up, and that's now, sent me off in a slightly different direction, but also a very productive direction, a direction that's solving a whole lot of problems that I had, and it's bringing a whole lot of clarity. Like that's an amazing gift. And so I think we need to create that sense of normalcy around changing our minds like that. I mean, we're not changing our minds at all, because our mind is not where this is coming from. But I think that's, the way that women especially have been talked to, and that's been structured as a bad thing. It's like, oh, she's changed her mind again. She's not reliable. Like we can't, trust that she'll be able to do these things. Like that's the stories that we have been taught and heard a lot. And where we're trying to create businesses where people trust us. And so it can be a difficult thing to navigate when it does start to look different. And I want this different way of doing life to become something that people can really trust and rely on, and create that same sense of comfort and safety around. It just happens to look a little bit different, but it doesn't mean we're any less trustworthy or confident or in alignment or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I really appreciate that, just because like the way this kind of time blocking thing was taught to me was from a woman who's, she's what, 8-figure business, or, one of those ones, who's a coach and all that. And like she heads up the life coach school. And so like her way of teaching it, and like she's just like, if it's on your calendar, you don't move it unless it's for blood, and like a blood emergency.
Yeah.
And like I admire that kind of discipline, and like I appreciate that whole, the connection with yourself, like, and that integrity thing, which I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. Not that
Yes.
I'm out of integrity, but it's just like I think there's certain personality types that we have intuition. Sometimes something's coming up, and things can shift it, and like we still have trust in ourselves to get things done. And I think that's
Yes.
where it is, rather than this very concrete, like near militant approach of, if you plan it, you stick.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, my journey has definitely been one of the recovering type A planner. Like when I worked in corporate as a project manager, and then as I sort of shifted out of that in the early years of starting my businesses and doing things, I was very much like that. I was like, let's plan out the year. Let's break that down to the quarter, to the month, to the week, so I know every day what I need to do. And it was something that, I've been on this journey to learn an alternative way. But I really empathize with people no matter where they are in that process. And again, when we're wanting to get more in touch with like our intuition or lead a little bit more in that way, that is sort of more of our feminine energy. And one of the great visuals that I've had is that is like a river, and the masculine is the container, and that is like the riverbed. So the river absolutely influences and changes the structure of the riverbed, but also it needs something to hold it. So how much structure we need as we're building up our confidence in ourselves and in our intuition looks different and is going to shift over time. And that just is part of your journey. And we need both things. We need the structure, and we want to also flow. So how that balance looks for all of us over time and at different times in our lives, we just want to make sure I like saying like just enough structure. We don't want to have too much so that we feel restricted. We want to be able to flow really like smoothly and easily, but we still need to be held and have that sense of of knowing what we're focusing on and what direction we're going in. So that might need to be every day for you, or like for me with my planning, so long as I have that direction at the top of my page every week, like I kind of know enough about what I'm doing. But I think as well, like speaking to someone who's got like an 8-figure business, there's a lot of moving parts. Like that's a completely different scale. And I think as we grow and as we do scale up our businesses, we probably are confronted by this question and dynamic over and over again, is that yes, we do need more structure or different structure because the river is wider, it's deeper, it's now branching off in multiple different directions. Like, how do we make sure we still keep oversight of all of that and make sure that, like, as far as our work and the stuff we do day to day, how can we create that space so we still have the opportunity to flow with our intuition, as well as showing up for the meetings and the people that we need to, because it's going to impact what they do in the week. Interestingly enough, some of the stuff that I used to do was around like when small businesses would start teams and get their processes in place. So I'm just really interested that our conversation is kind of ended up in that sort of dynamic where you're like, okay, now as you're scaling, how do I stay in a place where I'm led by my intuition, but also recognizing that we need some more structure for yourself and for the whole team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just I didn't know we were going to go here, but I guess it's just because of the stuff that you've been going on. It just mirrors some of the stuff that I've had going on. I just have had sort of some different experiences where it's like I had the intuitive idea and I stepped forward, and then the fears, and then I stepped back.
Yes.
And and the whole hang on, but I shouldn't, because I wanted to launch like a behind the scenes of my stress-free launch, but at the same time as trying to do the launch, and I just like I don't anyway.
Yes,
So
and that's a really good example too, because I think understanding when we are more in our masculine or feminine energies is really useful, because that feels like, a launch feels quite masculine, like you're putting yourself forward, it's an outward energy, you're holding the vision, the container, the space, you're trying to communicate to people, this is what it is and I want to invite you in. Whereas if you're sharing your experience, that feels like a more like emotional, feminine, like place. So I think, and again, I don't want to like dictate anyone's experience, but in mine and hearing from other people, it is difficult for us to hold both energies at the same time. So I think that's possibly what was happening there, is, for us to give our full selves to both of those things, it's kind of in conflict. It's like, writing the first draft of a book versus editing. Like that's first one is a feminine, creative, flowing energy. The editing is a more masculine, structured, analytical energy. This has come up for me a couple times when I'm creating or I need new branding. And I very much need someone to hold the space for me. I'm like, I'm a sacral generator, so I'm going to respond. I don't know off the bat what I want, but if you show me things, I can tell you which one it is and which one it isn't.
nice. Yeah.
And so really early on, I was like, doing it myself felt really hard. Like going into Canva and trying to come up with a brand, not from scratch, but like blank page. What are the things that I need? I couldn't connect fully into my feminine energy to be able to find it, and then it kept being interrupted by, now I need to look for the thing that matches it, and it was very stop start. It felt very hard. And then at the time, one of my biz besties was a graphic designer, and so I'm like, this opportunity is staring me in the face. And so we ended up having a couple workshops where she guided me through it. So she was the one pulling the images onto the picture, and she was the one looking at the fonts, and I was able to be like, yeah, this is what I'm after. I need something with a bit more depth. And I was able to kind of stay in that one energy, and flow and communicate and give the information. And so that's happened a few times now where I'm like, I need someone else to hold the space for me so that I can flow and so that I can work through this, because I need to stay more intuitively connected, and trying to do both at the same time really creates this like stop start sticky hard kind of space for me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting just because usually like I do have this combination of like in my terms or how I learned it at the time was like left brain, like logic brain,
Yes,
creative brain, and I like
exactly.
I'm lucky to have that blend. But then sometimes, especially I think at different phases of my cycle too, sometimes one's stronger than the other. And
Hmm.
yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, where do I need this to go and how do I work with what my body is just letting me do?
Absolutely. And sometimes I think it might be, the stuff for me with the branding that's come up like a few times as I've evolved. It's a more vulnerable thing, it's a more scary thing. You're trying to tap into like this next stage and kind of lean into that. So I think sometimes there are those activities where some more support from other people is helpful because it is sort of newer, it is braver, coming back to the bravery.
Yeah.
So having that support can make it a lot easier and can, yeah, just sort of encourage us and help us through those newer things or those, scarier things or those things on the edge of our comfort zones to have that support. Not that we couldn't do it on our own, but it's often more fun. It's often more fun with other people, and
Yeah.
it often can like encourage us and give us a bit of a boost as we are saying yes to the next steps that can be a bit scary for us.
Quick break to tell you about Brave Coffee Connections, my free monthly Zoom for coaches and service-based business owners. In just 60 minutes, you'll reflect on brave questions, connect in small groups, and finish with a visualization to set you up for success. It's not networking as usual, no awkward pitches, just real conversations that often lead to collaborations, referrals, and clients. Grab your free spot now at tiffanyGstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANYG for golf, studios.com/connections. I can't wait to see you there. On that note, the next steps that are scary, you said way back earlier in the podcast that like the thing that scares you is going to be inviting new people into this season's membership. What scares you about that the most, and how are you planning to move through it? Like,
Yeah, so this is something that I feel like has been a real pattern through my last sort of 9, 10 years of business, where I'm really good, again, my astrology sort of helps me with this. I'm really good at starting new things and I'm really excited about the like new ideas and the launching and I've worked through, I think, that the scariness of launching and putting stuff out there and being able to kind of hold that for people to come in. And also, sometimes when you do have like a smaller audience, also launching things and knowing it's not necessarily going to be an immediate flood of people. Like you need to hold the vibe for a more extended period of time. You want to be connecting in with that vision, I suppose. And so that part I've done so many times over as my business moved from doing the kind of systems and process support work into like intuitive coaching, into book editing, and now this beautiful kind of blend of the writing and the editing and the cyclical energies. Like I've done that bit enough that I feel comfortable in it. I feel good about it. I know what to expect. And I think the place that I haven't got to yet is where I've grown past a certain size. So, I've had like a 50K year and I've had an audience of a certain size before, but I think it's like, well, now this is the time where everything's kind of lined up and I'm no longer sort of trying to figure out what's my thing. I'm like, well, this is my thing. This is the thing I've come back to over and over and over again. And so it's going to be, I guess, the messy middle where it's established, it's going, I can feed into it. And I can't avoid, I guess, the more visibility activities of like growing my audience. And I mean, I love doing podcasts. I would do these all day long, but I think it's something again where I know I'm going to need to take some actions. I can't just like build it and they will come. There's going to be some things I need to do to really advocate for myself and for what I do. And that's the part that's really new and different. And I think I've learned how to do that in, I don't know, the kind of bro marketing way in the past. And so I think possibly, like, just as we're talking, the thing that's coming up is like, how do I do that in a more, intuitive led, like attraction energy kind of way that is genuine and isn't just I'm here because I want more people in my membership. Like I want it to be more than that. I want it to be I'm here because I love the space and it's going to be fun for me to be here, and it'll be a bonus if more people get to know me and what I do is going to be helpful for them. So I think like that's part of my like the conditioning and the deconditioning we were touching on. I don't think I've navigated that on that scale before. So I think that's the thing where I'm like, oh, everything's established. There's nothing necessarily like new and shiny to like spark my dopamine. And like, it's like, you're going to have to start creating that. I actually had a conversation with our friend Amanda Petra the other day where I was like, oh, it's going to just be normal. I'm like, one, I'm going to show up and I'm going to write every morning. And then I'm going to have my podcast. And then I'm going to share in the seasons. And like, all the information about my writing and editing is going to be out there. And so I'll probably have like a couple of those clients going on. But I kind of got this picture of what it would look like to have all of this established. And I was like, oh, this is just really normal, isn't it? This is just going to be like showing up every day and doing the same thing. And that was a real moment for me where I was like, okay, like there's nothing wrong with that and I don't have a problem with it. But for some reason, I think we have in our heads that, once we've got these things established and we have a consistent amount of clients, it's the shiny, successful place and it'll be super exciting and it'll change our lives, which of course, like, more income or doing things you love, like it does all enhance our lives. But it was just that moment of realizing it's also going to be really normal and it's really cool. But it was also that reality check of, you're not necessarily going to ride the sparks of like expansion and that edge of like, oh, we're going to do a scary thing now and that's fun. Like anyone, I guess, who's a little bit ADHD or has a relationship with dopamine, it's like, no, it's just going to be the same sort of activities every week. But I guess the excitement is going to come from a different place. It's going to come from connecting and getting the feedback from people. It's going to come in expanding my audience and having different conversations in different spaces. It was just that realization that it is going to look different. And I'm actually really glad that I had that realization now, like probably a good month or two out from when I will be in that space, so that I can adjust, I guess, and kind of process that myself and go, okay, now I'm expecting for it to become quite a regular rhythmic thing. And what's going to be exciting about that is seeing it grow. And aren't we all trying to create like the business and the dynamic where we don't have to work hard? Like I was like, isn't this the point that I can show up and do like 2 hours of work and that's most of my work for the day? Like, isn't that the point as well? So it was really interesting. So that's the unknown. That's the kind of scary thing where I'm like, oh, once I've got it established, kind of this school term that I'm working to, like next term, it's going to be a really different dynamic for me. And I'm excited about it. It's where I want to go, but I definitely have that kind of distance is perhaps too strong, but that sort of like, oh, that'll be new. Okay, let's do that then. Sure. Like I can tell there's going to be some stuff that'll come up that I'll need to be really conscious of and navigate, which I know how to do. It's just going to be in a different area.
Yeah. I love how you said like it's just going to be normal. Like that's some of the work that I've been doing, like from my perspective on like the fear of success and some of that stuff and like picturing the future and actually like having that feeling of normal and that feeling like from my perspective, that feeling of safety. So that then like my subconscious doesn't have to block it and go, oh, we're not ready for that. We can't do that. Like for me, when I've tried to grow different group programs and things like that, the stress of more eyeballs and things like that, and can I look after these people and they're going to expect more and I'm going to have to be better and all of these things. And then like my whole body just goes, no.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what's happened to me in the past with things is even before I've really been able to establish something for a longer period of time, to allow it to grow, to allow it to gain its own energy and momentum.
Yeah.
That's exactly what has like stopped me, and I think caused me to jump from one thing to another, because I'm comfortable in the getting stuff started and the being the new. So that's exactly it, where I feel like I've done a bit of like mindset work to reconcile, to say, no, this is enough. Like the way that I'm going to show up and put into the season's membership, like the messages most days, 10 to 15 minutes, like that is the value. That is the aha moment. That is the something for people to tune into. Like that is the thing. So I'm a lot more grounded in, like you're saying, that what I offer is enough, even if there's more and more and more people in it. But that's exactly what's going to come up for me as well. The more people that are in the group, the more like conversation there's going to be, the more messages there are going to be. And every time I think I've been on the verge of like growing to that next bigger level for me, that's always come up and scared me off, where I'm like, am I going to be able to, not am I going to be able to hold this? It's a fear of overwhelm. And I also have turned it into an I anticipate the fear of overwhelm. Like the overwhelm doesn't even exist yet. It just could maybe exist. It's hypothetical. And I'm already anticipating it in the moment and feeling the same feelings of like being overwhelmed right now. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm creating this for me now, and it's not even a thing yet. So that is the pattern that I've had before that, I'm sure is going to come up. Even though like the thing that's different this time is that I've kind of made peace with, like, you know, I can go in once a day and I can check in, and I can also spend a certain amount of like 30 minutes. Like I can cap my time and say, right, maximum 30 minutes in the group. I'm also like, I've made it okay. Like I don't have to respond to everything. Like, you know, things in groups like this that is great too is like having other people reply, and it not be like a thing where I'm the leader and I'm on a pedestal. It's like, no, we're all here together, and my experience is just as equal as yours, and your wisdom and knowledge is just as valuable as mine. Like let's all share that and support each other. So there's different mindset shifts I think I've gone through, which says, okay, it doesn't have to look like this. I can just show up this amount and that be okay and that be valuable. And I've looked to a lot of people like Amanda Francis, and Chelsea Diane is another person that those are my two faves. So if I like recommend anyone to like tune in to have like really like empowered women speak like intuitive wisdom to you, like they're amazing. And so I've had examples where it's like, well, you know, they have huge audiences, and I love the way that I love tuning into their stuff. They don't have to like show up and burn themselves out. Like Amanda Francis has like 4 kids. Like she's doing the mum thing half the day and working half the day, just like I am. And so I think, again, this is why having examples and being able to see the perspective and how other people do things and make that okay for ourselves in whatever area of our life is so valuable. I think that's what's allowed me to say, well, I can show up this much and that can still provide huge value to people.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, we can just soak that in for a minute, like let that land.
Yes,
for sure.
What is it? We can just be ourselves and let that be enough. That was what you said, right? Like,
I mean, I started doing, I think I started doing Facebook Lives, I don't know, years ago. You can actually go see them on my YouTube channel. I keep them up there because I also love going back and seeing other people like at the beginning. So, you know, my ability to show up and just riff and talk and not prep for something like this even, and just, you know that can share in the stories are going to come up, and what I'm supposed to talk about and what people need to hear is going to come. Like that's something that I've built up a lot over time, and I've done it over and over and over again. And in those moments, like right now, when I don't remember what my point is, I'm like, that's okay too. So I think it just is this building up the trust in ourselves that the value is there. That was my point. So when I'm going into the season's membership and I'm voice noting for 10, 15 minutes, and it feels like I'm just sharing random stuff that's come up for me this morning based on my writing, I can also see the value in it. When I record my podcasts and I feel like that was a whole lot of waffle, and then I listen to the recording back and I'm like, hey, wait, that was good. Like you
Yeah.
said good stuff. Like
Yes.
in the moment, it might feel really disjointed and like you're going all over the place. And you don't have to listen back to your podcast, but this is just something that I do. And it's given me that confidence that, yeah, it might feel this way, but you're actually really wise. You have a lot of value to offer. Like your perspective is different. And even though I might have said these different things a lot of times, it's new to people, and people hear it differently in the moment today than they might have heard it last week even. So I think it's a thing to, yeah, build our own confidence in that we can show up and be ourselves, and that is enough. And the accumulation of our experiences, of our perspective, of the stories we have to share is really valuable and healing and supportive. And I think that is a very revolutionary kind of perspective for women to take, when for so long we have been silenced and told that, we're waffling and that our stories aren't relevant and that you're being too emotional and that no one cares and no one has the same experience. And it's like, everybody's having the same experience. We're all going through the same stuff, just like you were saying. And I love that. I love connecting with someone and realizing that the core of what we're navigating is the same. So when you share what you've been thinking and how you've been navigating it, and how I share how I've been doing it, we both grow and we both get something from each other, because we're in the same place going through the same thing, even if the context is different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was just thinking that it's probably possibly to do with that whole like intuitive side. Like a lot of what we've been talking about today has been the following your intuition and trusting that intuition. And I think sometimes when you follow that, you can maybe feel like, especially if you look at it from the masculine with like judgy eyes or whatever, then it can be like, oh, you're switching and you're changing, and you're and like we can easily judge ourselves, and that's why it could be easy to sort of say to ourselves, oh, we're not enough, we don't know what we're doing. And, oh, if I just do a 15-minute voice note per day. And I've seen people run Telegram groups where they're doing like I was going to try and do 5 minutes a day, which personally is hard for me. I want to talk more. Yeah, just like knowing that that's enough. And
absolutely. I think, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm pretty sure we probably all have the same sort of thing. I feel like a lot of women have got this like internal thing where we feel like we have to be able to explain ourselves. We feel like every decision we make, we have to be able to stand up in front of judge and jury and make our case as to why this is a good idea and why this is the right thing to do. I don't know whether it goes back to like the witch trials or what, or just women being, I don't know, judged, like you say, so much. But that's something that comes up a lot for me when someone often being my husband is just asking an innocent question, and I suddenly feel like I'm being put on trial, and like I have to create this whole gigantic defense and explain why I want to do something, as if me wanting to do it isn't enough of a reason. And so I've often had this like just feeling of I shouldn't feel so like tense about it. It really is as if I'm in the middle of a courtroom and it's like life or death. And if I don't justify myself to everyone else's satisfaction, that I'm going to, get burnt at the stake or whatever. Like that's honestly like a sensation that comes up for me. And so that's been something I've also had to work through, be like, you know what, if I want to do it, I don't have to be able to explain it. And intuition works like that. We don't get told like why this is the right thing. And if someone asked us, or if we, having internalized all of this judgment, if we say, well, I need a good reason why I should work on this afternoon instead of what I had planned, and you don't necessarily have a good reason, or a reason you can articulate or anything like that, then we do sort of divert ourselves and we do say, all right, well, I can't do it then, because me wanting to do it or me feeling the nudge of my intuition isn't a good enough reason. And I just feel like that's something like over generations that's kind of been talked out of us and warned out of us. So I really feel that when you talk about that, I'm like, it's almost like I mean, for the centuries when women weren't autonomous, we did have to justify everything we wanted to do because we had to get approval from a man, usually father, husband, whoever, to be able to do a thing, because we weren't in control of our own money. We, were subject to these other people. So I think it is something, yeah, we're starting to undo now that we do have a lot more autonomy and sovereignty now than we really ever have.
Oh, oh my gosh. That is such an interesting point. I think I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm like, oh, do I need to justify? Or, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, what if we can just do it because we want to, or do it because I had this quote on my vision board for the last few years, and it's just my intuition told me to do it.
Yeah, 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 because it feels right. I feel it in my gut or my
Yeah.
body. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have this real inner compass as women, especially. I mean, men have it as well. I just think they're, again, another step distanced from it. And I do really believe we have our menstrual cycle trying to remind us of it every single month. So I think it's the feelings of conflict, I think, come up for us a lot. And yeah, our body is talking to us and it's trying to nudge us in the right direction. And sometimes it can be just give yourself a little bit of a playground. Like, you don't have to start doing this in your entire life, because that can be way too much and way too scary right off the bat and feel super unsafe. And your nervous system is not going to like that at all. But it might be that you say, like, this, give yourself an afternoon or even a couple hours in your work each week to say, I'm going to do the work that I feel intuitively led to do. And it can look like whatever. So you're almost time boxing away that time to be like, if I end up doing nothing, that's still okay. Everything's covered, so you feel safe. But in that little window, you're going to start to play with what it feels like to trust your intuition. So you can start building up that evidence that when I follow it, I get stuff done. When I follow it, this unexpected stuff happens. When I follow it, it might not be what I thought, but it's taking me into this new place. And we can build up that evidence that it's safe to trust our intuition. And then we can do it more and more, not just for an hour or two in a week. We can start to feel safe enough to follow it in other areas or for more time and things like that.
Oh, I love that. Oh, Kerryn, this has been an amazing conversation. It was the conversation I didn't know that I needed because
Oh, thank you
all
so
of
much.
all of the brave things that I've been doing lately. I know I didn't have all of the standard bravery questions, but everything we were talking about felt like it was around this bravery topic. And, hearing you talk about everything and share everything around like the intuition and following things and facing your fears and growing your membership and all that kind of thing. I know that that's all the bravery stuff that we're all going to go through. Yeah, is other we will of course have links to everything in the show notes, but for people like me who are like, screw the show notes, I'm just going to go to Instagram. Where should people go to find you to connect?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that the conversation has gone in a this is my favorite thing, an unexpected but exactly what we needed place. That is the evidence of following your intuition. So if people want to tune in and see what I'm doing and see someone going through their life and business this way, yes, I'm on Instagram. It's Kerryn.Trisha. You might have to check the show notes for how to spell my names. I'm sorry, they're not spelled how you expect. And then there'll be a link in my bio there as well, so you can check out the seasons membership. I'm on YouTube as well, Kerryn Trisha there too. You can look up the Creative Midwife Show, where I share behind the scenes of my book and how the writing process is going. Again, very intuitively done. And I talk a lot about writing, obviously, my book, but also writing other things and just creating in general. A lot of what I speak to is how to do that in an intuitive way and following our flow and our rhythms. So yeah, Instagram, YouTube, and then the Instagram will have the links to the seasons membership and information about my writing, coaching, and book editing too, if that's something people are touching on as well.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing all of your amazing stories today, Kerryn. Are there any last words you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
You're so welcome. I would love for people to start with awareness. So we don't have to do anything different right away. we don't actually have to do anything different, full stop. But if you take nothing else away from today other than a little bit more awareness of how your body feels when you're choosing to do something, whether it's going to like open and lean forward to it or close and lean back, you can still make whatever decisions you need to in the moment. But raising your awareness of your intuition and what it's saying and how your body's feeling and how you're reacting, that will start you on this journey without having to do anything big and scary to start.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Thank you so much, Kerryn.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. If you're ready to grow through deeper connections, join me for Brave Coffee Connections. It's my free monthly Zoom call for coaches and service providers. No pitches, just real conversations that spark collaborations, referrals, and new clients. Plus, you'll leave with clarity, inspiration, and one brave action for the month ahead. Save your free spot at tiffanyGstudios.com/connections. That's TIFFANYG for golf, STUDIOS.com/connections. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery Podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.